Hello and welcome to Wisdom and Productivity, the podcast of Dr. Efraín Martinez. I am a principal in search of wisdom, and I have found productivity to be a great tool for success. Today, I have the great and distinguished honor of interviewing Sandy Cristobal, who is the assistant principal at Highland School and the curriculum coordinator at Downers Grove Grade School District 58. Sandy Cristobal, who are you?
Well, first of all, hi everyone, and thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Sandy Cristobal. First of all, I am a wife. I am a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm an educator. I'm an immigrant. I am a first generation immigrant actually, and I am just so happy to be here. And my passion is education and helping our students be represented in ways that they are not yet being represented, and just using my story to help bring a movement and change for our students.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. In doing the research for the show, I learned that you have a immigrant story of arriving to the country when you were seven.
Yes.
Can you share with us that trajectory before the professional trajectory so we know about your experiences?
Absolutely. So I came here with my family when I was 7 years old. So my parents are from Bolivia. Shout out to any Bolivianos out there.
Ah, Bolivianos.
Bolivianos. But I was actually, interestingly enough, was born in Mexico City. My parents traveled from Bolivia to Mexico to to continue their education, and then my father got a job here in the United States, and so that was our first experience. We came straight to Illinois, and I did not know a lick of English. I think and I think I said this before, the only phrase I knew in English was "I love you," and that's thanks to Barney. Remember the Barney and Friends show?
Oh, I remember. Yes.
So I love you, and so I that was the only phrase I knew. So can you imagine my first day of school was really, I was shocked, not only culturally shocked, but just amazed with how beautiful the classroom was, how big the school was, how beautiful my teacher was, Miss Larson. And honestly, she just was the difference maker in my life at that time. As a 7 year old, I had so many fears because I didn't know what I was stepping into, a community that was already formed. But she made me feel like I belonged. She made me feel included. And little by little, I was able to learn English. But I credit a lot of my success to her and what she was able to do for me. Like, she just made me feel so welcome. And back in the 90s, bilingual education was not, it was, in the early stages. So
Mhm.
I was pulled out for ESL, and that was a totally different experience than what I had with Miss Larson. I had a kind of a strict, mean ESL teacher, and that brought a lot of fear until this day, a little bit of like trauma, because she really wanted me to pronounce the English way or the American way, and I couldn't. And so going back to Miss Larson's class felt like home and felt safe, even though I did not understand what she was saying or had no idea what we were learning. I felt like I belonged, and I will always thank her for that.
Wow. It is a testament on how important it is to be aware of the psychological effects when we pull students outside of a classroom.
Absolutely.
Right? It's an opportunity to uplift them and like to kind of beat them down. So I'm imagining that this experience influenced you in becoming an educator. So can you walk us through your professional trajectory up to this point?
Absolutely. So Miss Larson had a big impact on me, and then that ESL teacher kind of gave me that confidence of what not to do. And so as I made my way to college, I thought, I want to serve students. At the time, I didn't know what capacity. I thought that maybe because I am a Latina, Spanish is my first language. I thought, why don't I become a foreign language teacher? teach teach students about my culture. Let me teach them about the language. And there wasn't so many jobs for foreign language teachers. I mean, I think I landed a part-time job. And in that same school that year, an ESL position came up. So I
Mm.
remember my principal saying, well, you speak Spanish. Have you ever thought about getting a transitional endorsement and seeing if you could potentially help our ESL population? And of course, I wanted a full-time job. I
Yeah.
was like, yes, I'll do whatever it takes to get a full-time job. And I'm so glad that principal pushed me. I'm so glad that she said, do this is going to help you, because it really did. So then I ended up getting the transitional bilingual endorsement, and then
Yeah.
that began my bilingual education experience. Taught bilingual kindergarten, taught ESL, taught bilingual interventionist, and that just kind of pushed me to do things that I would have never thought I was going to do, thanks to one person recommending me to do something.
Wow.
And the same thing. So, and then once I was already maybe 6 years, 7 years into being a bilingual educator, again, another principal, Dr. Sukenik, she's still a principal now. She said, have you ever considered going to being an administrator? At the time, I was involved in everything. Yo me metía a todo. Like, yo tenía el tiempo. I was
Yeah.
single. I was young. I was like, I want to be part of this. I used to get involved in a lot. So I think she saw that, and she saw that I was very professional. I kind of mind my own business. Really was there just to grow as an educator. And she again pushed me to getting this endorsement. And I was thinking of getting a master's, and I said, well, why not? If it doesn't work, it's okay. I'll still go up a salary, right? Todo pensando.
Correct.
Pero gracias a Dios se abrió una puerta, and my first admin experience was in Westmont, where I've learned so much. And again, being bilingual helped me, because the admin experiences that I've had so far have required someone that is bilingual, someone that understands multilingual education. And so all my experiences have led me up to where I am now, which is in Downers Grove. And I'm so thankful for the work that we're doing here and everything that I've learned up to now.
Wow. That is, again, a testament. There's a quote by Steve Jobs, and I'm paraphrasing here, that life makes sense when you look back and connect the dots, right? So all the experiences and all the people that tell you, hey, you should do this, it's
Yes.
for a reason, right? It's going to take you perhaps to where you need to be. Thank you so much for sharing that. So,
Of course.
talking about professional trajectory, if like in Back to the Future, if you could go back to any of the positions you have held in the past, what
Ooh.
would be one or two things the Sandy of today will tell the Sandy of back then?
I would tell the Sandy that was a kindergarten teacher, I would say to her, I would say, balance your life. The kids are going to be successful. Give yourself a break and balance your life. Because as a first year teacher, I was there day and night. And I was doing things that were really outstanding. And I was very celebrated at my school. But the cost was that my health was starting to get impacted, and my stress levels were being impacted. And then the Sandy outside of work was diminishing. And so I would tell myself, Mija, it's okay. You don't have to do all. You don't have to prove yourself. Do a good job, but have that balance.
That's a great lesson. I just like you, I remember when I began as a principal, I would leave the building almost at midnight.
Ay,
I
Dios
would
mío.
leave by 7 o'clock, and I was ignoring my health. I was ignoring my family and missing important things that are never going to happen again, right? And still the problems were there, right? Still there's always something else to do. What a
Yeah.
great advice. Any other lessons you would tell to yourself in any other professional health?
Absolutely. No, I always tell myself, Sandy, have a heart of gratitude. And I think that's something that we don't talk about a lot. I think our professions, when we first get the job, we're so thankful, right? We post it on Twitter. We post an Insta. We post our picture of our Instagram with our classrooms. And then that gratitude of landing a job fades. And then suddenly we are stuck with all the negatives and why this and why that. And having a heart of gratitude is what's really going to help us not get burnt out. And I don't think we talk enough about the science of gratitude. I think when we have gratitude, we release serotonin, which produces dopamine, and dopamine produces that happiness hormone. And so just being grateful for what we have. The fact that I can look back and say, oh my goodness, I'm an immigrant who came to this country with the only phrase that I knew was I love you. And now I am leading educators and families and students in a great district. I am so thankful. And that makes me want to go to work and makes me want to do a good job. When you have that heart of gratitude, it's going to make the difference, not only for yourself and your health, but other people are going to be like, I want what she has or he has. How do I do to get it?
Beautiful. You're so inspirational, Sandy. Sandy, I know you have some tips for educators as we begin the school year. And now talking about this made me think about that. What should we learn from that?
I think that as we enter a new school year, we have it's an opportunity to set goals. It is kind of like our new year, right? For educators,
Yeah.
it's a time to reinvent ourselves, to let go of the past that ya pasó, and to really start fresh. A tip that I have for myself and for educators is listen, but don't always engage. And what that means is, it's so easy to gossip. It is so easy to give our opinion. It's so easy to ser metiches.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I think listening is such an art. And when we listen, we're able to have a lot of growth and better understanding of other people. I think we become very more empathetic people. And so, my tip for all educators this school year is take some time to listen and don't always engage. Don't get involved in the drama or the gossip. If there's something that you don't like about what's going on, listen to it, and then there'll be a time and place for you to voice that, whether that be in private or in a conversation, in a meeting or conversation with a colleague. But we don't listen enough. We don't listen enough. We want to be heard, but sometimes we don't listen enough.
Beautiful. That's such a great advice.
Mhm.
Sometimes, as leaders, we believe that we must have the answers for everything.
Yeah.
And in a way, we put ourselves on top of that mountain saying, we know everything. But
Yes.
in reality, our job is to listen and take gather all that information and discuss it with your peers and your team for
Mhm.
together, right? To be the
Mhm.
best teachers. We are the best teachers when we are all together joining forces. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, thinking about books that have inspired you, right? If you have, is there a Sandy Cristobal out there wanting to be a leader, and you are going to give him or her two books that have inspired you or have marked you in a specific way, one fiction, one nonfiction. Which one of those books? Which books would those be?
Okay. Um So I really enjoy reading the Proverbs. I don't know, they're just so full of wisdom. Like I know that some people can be intimidated by that, but I think the book of Proverbs is full of great advice for leaders and for just people in general. But in terms of just a fiction, I think everybody should read The Kite Runner. I don't know if you've read that book, but that's such a great book about how someone can turn such a difficult circumstance in their life and uh, make something out of it. I also liked reading the five dysfunctions of a team. That really helped me understand what makes a team work and what doesn't. And so I think those are the three books that stand out. And nowadays, especially, there's just so much smaller chunks of text to read online, and so I think it's so full of great advice for us educators. But yeah, check out those
Beautiful. Let me ask you a couple of questions about what is one lesson that you have learned from the book of Proverbs?
Oh my gosh, there's just so many.
Just one, the one that comes to
No,
mind.
I know. Okay, the one that comes to mind is I'm not going to quote it directly, but it talks
Paraphrasing.
about how there's a proverb that says that we have to be careful with our tongue because we can either destroy or we can uplift. um and isn't that true? Our words have power. We can build someone, or we can tear someone down. And so, like, with words, we can go into war. President can say we're going into war, or they can say no, we're going to go into peace. And so, just with one word, right? And so I think that's good advice for anyone, that our words matter, and our words have a lot of weight, and we have to be careful how we use our tongue. The smallest,
Beautiful.
the smallest is one of the smallest, parts of our body, but the most powerful.
Absolutely. And it can mark, especially children, it can mark them for a lifetime of what you can tell a child that they can accomplish everything, and you can tell a child that they can't.
Yeah.
And that might mark their future, their life, their families. The impact of educators is so grandiose that we don't realize how much we can positively or negatively impact. That's a great lesson from the book of Proverbs.
Yep.
What about any less? What is the one lesson that stands out from the five dysfunction of a team for those who have not read it?
One of the things that I loved about that book is that it talks about how to be the light, and how to be the positive impact. So the reason why there's dysfunction in teams is because the culture and the climate allows for people to be dysfunctional. So one way to break that dysfunction is to be the light, to be that positivity. And there's tips on how to do that, and ways to step up. And but I love that about that book, that it ends up with it's up to us, right? Whether or not we choose how we want to represent ourselves in a team, and it's up to us to be part of this function or not. And so that's what I love about that book.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sandy. I appreciate it. So let me ask you, who is or who are your biggest influences?
My biggest influences would probably be my parents. My parents have, I just love them so much. My dad is no longer with us. He passed away a couple years ago, but he was such, he should have been a politician. He really should have. He would always be an advocate for immigrants, especially. He organized so many walks and protests, peaceful protests. And as a child, you no entendía. I was like, why is my dad always on the news? And why is he always marching? And now as an adult, like, I admire the fact that he stood up for amnesty, for immigrants, for people that didn't have a voice, for the less vulnerable. And then my mom, she was just a strong woman of faith. She taught me just how to be humble, and how to serve others in order to have a fulfilled life. And so I would say I look up to them. They have molded who I am as an adult, and I just hope that I can be at least 10% of the parents that they were to me if I ever have children one day.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Sandy, let me ask you, right now, you are playing, you're in a position where you're playing two roles
Yes.
as an assistant principal and also as a curriculum coordinator.
Yes.
And you just finished your first year. Is that correct?
My first year in Dartmouth Grove. Yeah. Yes. 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 Yes.
So I know you have prior administrative experience in another
Mhm.
school district. What have you learned in terms of playing this, having these two hats? And what advice do you have for those who might begin that journey today or soon?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. First of all, it's doable. Everything will be okay. Tell yourself that, because when I found out, I was like, ¿Cómo voy a hacer esto? Like, I don't know if I have to, like, I don't have a twin. I wish I had a twin. So I think it starts off by being organized about and having great time management. So I am so blessed that I get to work with a group of administrators and my principal who's super flexible, who understands that I have a dual role. And so what I do is I try my best to split my time in half as much as possible. Does that always happen? No. But I try to do that. So I try my best 50% of my day. I'm an AP, and 50% of my day, I'm a curriculum coordinator. But what I do is I let my staff know the days that I'm going to be in the building. And we do that through a newsletter. And they know when to expect me, when to see me. And so nothing is a surprise. So when they're looking for me, and it's, for example, it's in the afternoons, they know, okay, she's probably gone. She's probably in other schools. And so that takes away the questions of the where is she? Why is she out? So we have to communicate to our stakeholders when we're going to be available. And on the other hand, other stakeholders that are waiting for me, they know that I can be accessible in the afternoons. Um, and it's truly, I think it's still tough. I don't think I conquered it perfectly. But I tell myself when I am in the building, I am full AP. I put my curriculum coordinator hat, on, and just I stayed in the closet, that stays in the closet. And I really focus on just my kids, my staff, and the job that needs to be done. But as soon as I leave, that's when the next thing comes out. And it's all about having that time management. And I again, working with a district that's so flexible allows me to be able to do that. And then the one thing that I've learned this year about the dual role is it's hard, like being able to give it your all, right? Because you can't be 100% in one place.
Mhm.
So it's really having honest conversations with everyone about what you can do and how much of it you can do. And then for yourself, being able to do things in a timely manner and plan out your week and organize your days so that you're not falling behind and so that you're not missing out. This year, what I did was every day I was in the mornings, I was at the building, and in the afternoon, I was at curriculum coordinator. So that gave me opportunity to greet the students, to greet the families, to help everyone get in and settled, and do a couple and visit classrooms, and then after and be in the lunchroom and recess. And then as soon as that was done, I was off. But again, I have a great principal that is so flexible and understands that, and a district that supports that.
Beautiful. So since you mentioned productivity, let's go at it.
Okay.
You mentioned being organized and having a system. So as you know, being successful includes being on top of our productivity. So
Yes.
what does this mean to you? How does Sandy get organized to play these two roles and also be a human being?
Yeah. Well, it's a balance. I always balance out my days. So we have 5 days. And I look at my weeks as a whole. I'm not a day to day. I like looking at my weeks from Monday through Friday. And so being able to have my to-do list, and I do that. There's a lot of Google extensions that you can do that through. And so I make my list, and then after I make my to-do list or list of meetings, I go ahead and then plan them in throughout my week. And that's when I'm able to see my whole week. Where are my free gaps? Where are my most busiest times? When am I going to be able to maybe get a quick walk outside? And when am I going to be stuck indoors all day? But you do that by planning out your week ahead of time and organizing my Google Calendar. I set a lot of reminders. I have my Google taskbar that allows me to write in my to-do list, and honestly set times apart. I have when I'm out of the building and I'm a curriculum coordinator, I'm able to get a lot more done by being in specific buildings or areas in the district where I can just get some work done and set times. But it's really about just prioritizing your time, and I do that on a weekly basis.
Beautiful. Okay, we're gonna go back to that question. Let's just take a moment to praise the Teach Better community.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. Now let's get back to the episode.
So this topic of productivity is one that I'm passionate of. My biggest influence in terms of productivity is a guy called Robin Sharma. and he talks about every Sunday planning your week like a blueprint of where you're going to be in each place. So, can you tell us how does that look like for you when you plan the whole week?
Mm-hmm. So one is I set realistic goals, because I break down larger tasks into smaller tasks so that I can feel productive, so that I can have those small wins. And so it's really, again, setting those realistic goals. And then again, another way I do that is by eliminating distractions. So I try, again, when I am an AP, I am not thinking about my curriculum coordinating role. I am thinking about my student and my staff. And I'm going to put my phone on silent. I'm going to close all unnecessary tabs on my computer that are, regarding my curriculum coordinator role. And I'm only going to answer specific emails to my job as an AP. And so that's one way to, because it could be easy for me to, while I'm being the AP, get distracted by, oh my gosh, there's curriculum things that I have to do later. And I'm going to be honest, there's times where I've been distracted, but I'm learning that by limiting distraction, I'm able to do a better job. And then establishing a routine and structure is really helping me. Again, like my routine was mornings at my school, afternoons in the district. And so that consistency helped me plan, helped me prepare, and then helped me have that balance. And then one thing that I would tell myself is we have to take breaks and practice self-care. I don't think we talk about this enough. That's in my opinion, being part of being productive. So when the students are outside, I go out for a walk, or when I get 5 minutes just to breathe some fresh air. Taking regular breaks throughout the day when possible will help you be productive and prevent your burnout. And you can do that after work too. Like I'm trying to get more in shape, so working out after work, seeing a chiropractor, all of that really helps with your productivity.
Beautiful. The other day I interviewed Danny Bauer, and he said that at some point he got in trouble because he would put in his calendar meditation, even if it was 5 minutes. And there's always going to be a naysayer say you don't get paid to do meditation. So he advised to just put busy, or like in the calendar. So, but you can meditate, and you can walk, and you can have your lunch. It's just how you strategize in the system. We're gonna talk about exercise and stuff soon, but let me ask you. You mentioned that you have to be honest with the people that you're working with because you're playing multiple hats. For those who might begin a position like this, what lessons have you learned about telling, for example, your principals, the teachers in the school, the teachers and principals, administrators in the other schools that you work, that sometimes you have to say no, but say in a way that it doesn't come across as I don't want to do it. It's just like, hey, I'm playing. What lessons have you learned? I'm sure you have learned tons.
Yeah. First lesson is share your role. Don't assume people understand it. So people need to understand what you're doing. Because when you don't tell them what your role is or what you're doing, then they're going to make up their own stories of what you should be doing or what your job should be. So right at the bat, if you land the job with a dual role, make sure you're communicating that with your staff. Maybe if you're working with a principal group, communicate with that with your principal group. Let them know what it means to have this dual role. And then second is share your availability and be transparent. So my staff knows, even when I'm not in the building, what building I'm going to be in. So for example, I may not be in my own building, but they'll know I'll be in district office, or they know I'm going to be at an X school or Y school. And that gives people that ability to say, okay, it's not a secret, So I think sometimes we don't want people to know our business, or we want to be a little private about what we're doing. But I think as leaders, we have to be transparent. So my building knows my schedule. They know what buildings I'm going to be at. and understanding, communicating what your role is. And then it's funny because once they see you running around, and there's times where I'll see my teachers, like maybe they have a training out of their school, they're like, oh, you're here. And then they see me, or they see other teachers that I work with other my teachers, they're like, oh, I just saw Sandy, she was just here ago. Then they start to realize, wow, okay, she is running around, she's doing a lot, I see. And now they're the ones that are advocating, for me, and saying, she has this much on her plate. Let's help take it off, or she may need some time. But they won't know that if you're not communicating, if you're not being transparent, if they're not seeing it.
For sure. Thank you. So being open and transparent. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Sharing your roles so people don't define their role for you.
Oh yeah, you have to be
Those,
careful with that, right? If not, you're going to get more roles added.
yeah, those are great lessons. Thank you so much. So, Sandy, psychologists phrase imposter syndrome as something that we all go through. That as an English learner, I'm sure that we share the feeling of being told that you had to phrase things in a certain way, and that sticks with you, right? And you sometimes get, or maybe we don't think we're good enough, or strong enough, or smart enough, or we don't have enough degrees. How do you address imposter syndrome, and what lessons have you learned?
Um, I think the lesson that I learned is to challenge my self doubt. I think I am the hardest on myself. And there's days where I know that I've treated myself in ways that I would never want anyone to be treated. So, just negative self talk and self doubt have been such a huge challenge for me as I've grown throughout my career. But I'm learning that positive affirmations and really just celebrating those small wins is what's going to help me. I read a blog maybe a couple of months ago about this, and they suggested keep a record of your achievements, keep
Mm,
positive keep positive feedback from students, from families, um, from your supervisors, to remind you that you are enough and you're worth it. And I just remind myself that I have earned the successes that I've gotten because of my hard work and dedication. So, and then talking about it, because when you share your feelings of imposter syndrome with trusted colleagues and mentors and friends, when you open up about your insecurities, that can help you gain perspective from others who share a similar experience or have had similar feelings.
beautiful. Thank you so much. That is great advice. We are all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And when we talk about things, they come out, they don't stay in. Beautiful. Thank you so much. So let me ask you, when you mentioned Google extensions. It's a geeky question. Can you mention your favorite Google extension that you might not be able to work without?
Um, Grammarly, I think that's a popular one. Grammarly has really saved a couple of my emails from looking unprofessional.
The curriculum coordinator has to be perfect in grammar, right?
It has to be. Yeah, no, if not, yeah, that they're gonna
Mhm.
question my job. No, but I like that one the best. And then I also really enjoy, and this is a new one that it doesn't come to my mind, but there is a extension where it translates your Google Slides into any language. I want to say it's called Google
Um,
Slide Translator. That has saved me so much time for when I have to do presentations, especially when I have to do them in two languages.
mhm.
Oh my goodness, like artificial intelligence is blowing my mind.
It's amazing.
And we have to be careful with it, of course, but we also have to take advantage of it. And that has saved me hours of work. And so, and then of course I can clean it up and
Sure.
add different content. But that one has been so helpful, especially because we're always presenting to families, to students, and having to do that in two languages can be tedious. So that extension has been great.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Let's also capitalize on extensions and other resources that make our work better. and allow us to do the actual connection with the people.
Exactly.
Beautiful. So, question in terms of tell us about exercise and mindfulness and how you have integrated that into your life.
Yeah, for many years, I never did anything in terms of my health. I always, my father was very, slim, skinny, flaquito, and so I always had the genes. And but we, even us that have those genes, we have to be careful, right? Because our insides sometimes don't reflect what's on the outside. So as I've gotten older, I've learned that we only have one body, and this is the only body we will get. It's up to us. It's up to us how we treat it and how we care for it. And so I remember maybe when I was in my mid 20s, just hearing about nutrition. Do you remember when Michelle Obama, when she started talking about how we should change nutrition in schools?
Yeah.
And I remember having to give mini lessons to my students about healthy eating. Y yo me sentía bien hipócrita because I was eating like every day. I
Hmm.
was eating fried this and fried that. And I think that was a wake up call for me because I said, how am I teaching them to eat fruits and vegetables? Y yo con mis papitas y mi Valentina en la so and then like, and of course the kids, they watch us, and so in an effort to have an impact on them, I changed the way I was eating. Like, so when I ate with them, there was a couple of times I ate with them during snack time, during lunchtime, and ate things that they were maybe not used to seeing in their own lunch boxes. And then that kind of sparked my journey of understanding about healthy eating. The exercising came later, so then I tried to, after that wake up call that I had when I was
Yeah.
teaching these mini lessons, my diet went from clean eating. So I try to eat clean and try to eat the best I can. I felt that was enough because as I got older, tú sabes, nuestros cuerpos ya no.
Things change. Things change. Yeah.
Ya la papadita was coming out more. Um, so I said, okay, no. So my eating is not enough, and there's just so much research and science that backs up. Like, they say that if you exercise 30 minutes a day, you have less of a probability to get heart disease and get heart attack. There's more probability, again, to release dopamine, those happy hormones. And
Yeah.
so I was never I was never a gym rat, or I wasn't an athlete. So I was like, ¿qué hago? I don't know what to do. Pero sí me gustaba bailar. So I started like doing like, like the Zumba, and then again, like forming that community. A friend invited me to like a cardio conditioning, and I started doing that, and then swimming. And so then one thing led to another. Oh my gosh, what a difference that makes. You just have more energy. And then along with that, like having regular visits to my chiropractor, especially sometimes when we're so tense. I carry a lot of my tension in my neck. Being able to take care of myself that way as well. And shout out to Dr. Ratio. He's been treating me since I've been in Downers Grove. And being able to say, I am worth this investment of a gym membership, of a class, of a chiropractor, of organic food. Mi mamá siempre me dijo, like, if you're gonna go, if don't go, if you can go cheap on clothes y no sé qué, but never go cheap on food, because
Mhm.
that's gonna be your fuel. So me dijo, no importa, no quieres gastar en zapatos, está bien, pero nunca pagues poquito para la comida. Always get the best, because your body deserves the best. And so now I approach that. So sometimes when I see my gym membership, I'm like, oh my goodness, or my chiropractor bill, whatever the case may be. But then I remind myself, no, my body's worth it. My body's worth it. If I want to keep serving students and the community, I have to be healthy. And so I
Absolutely.
remind myself of that all the time.
I love that you're sharing that because we often we talk about our professions and then we think that we're gonna retire and we're gonna live happily ever after, right? But
Yeah.
if you really think about it, right, like after you retire, you can live 10, 20, 30, 40 more years, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like like I think Woody Allen was the one who said, and I'm paraphrasing, doesn't matter how much money you have. If you have a toothache, you're gonna be in pain. That's not living in wealth, right? So
Absolutely.
taking care of your temple is so important, and the health and what we consume and exercise and all that kind of good stuff. So
Absolutely.
Sandy, when Sandy is not wearing the dual hat and she's not exercising and stuff like that, what do you do for fun?
Um, I love to take walks. I love walking. So and then I just like watching, just watching people enjoy their time. Like, I don't know if you heard of people watching.
No, no, but hey,
Sometimes you just sit down and just watch people do, enjoy their lives. So I I think that's something from my family, because my mom and my grandma were that way too. But they just like to sit down in the park and watch people and just seeing people enjoy themselves. And I love doing that, just taking walks and seeing, people having a good time by, playing sports or enjoying their life. I also love to watch a couple of series when I get time. I think that's one
ooh,
way to just, ya me olvido de todo. Like, my mind is blank.
which is your
And
favorite series?
oh my gosh, don't get me started on that. Well, I don't know if you've seen the Dropout on Hulu, but if you guys
No,
haven't,
drop.
you have to see.
What is it about?
Okay, so it's based on the real life story about, I won't give it away, but it's
Hmm.
and she just recently came out on the news, so I won't say too much. But it's about a woman who was a CEO and claimed that through a drop of blood, she could diagnose any disease that a person has.
Oh,
Well, things didn't go so well. And what I love about it, that it's based on a real life story. So you have to check that out. I
oh,
love
definitely.
docu series and like crime, law and order type of things. I love watching that. And then if I had more money, I would travel the world. I love traveling, again, like just being able to learn more about different cultures and eat. I love to eat, and I'll try anything. I think the rarest thing I've ate was a ¿cómo se dice? Hormigas, los huevitos de las
Ants?
hormigas. Yes, yes,
Wow.
yes.
¿Dónde comiste eso?
In Mexico, and it was,
Wow.
and I didn't like. No me gustó, but I tried
But
it.
it was like couscous, like what did it taste like?
No, es que, yeah, maybe a little like couscous, pero it was bitter. Y yo le metí guacamole y le metí salsa y con la tortilla, pero no me ayudó. But I could say I tried it. Ant eggs. Yeah, that's
Wow.
the rarest. So I'll try anything. I'll try anything. I may not like it, but I'll try anything. So yeah, those are some things that I love to do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been such a great time, Sandy. Any last thoughts for the listeners and viewers of the show?
Yeah, my last thought for you is this: walk in confidence, especially to all the brand new teachers out there. Sometimes we're so intimidated because we're new, we don't want to speak up. But walk in confidence. You were there for a reason, you were hired for a reason, you got the job over other applicants. Walk in confidence. Your students are going to learn from it. You're going to feel better. Your if community is going to be thankful for that. And don't let anyone else take your shine. That's my last words.
Amen, Sandy. You're so inspirational. Thank you so much for your time. I will forever be thankful.
Claro. Thank you so much for the invite, amigo. I'm so glad that we're able to have this conversation, and I can't wait to keep learning from you.
Oh, and vice versa. Nos vemos.
Nos vemos.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom and Productivity, the podcast of Dr. Efraín Martinez
Chulu.
and I love the production